Hey everybody, Chuck G Violin. I am back, and it's been a little while, so I apologize for that. But I am working on a golf course that has this feature on it that you can see in front of you, which is kind of a burn or a creek, if you will, in the United States, and with rock sidewalls. And I want to show you how I have created this. I think it looks pretty cool. Yeah, you can kind of see the lines like here, but you are going to see those lines no matter what. I have noticed. I've tried to fix it, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, this is the golf course. And as you can see, this creek runs through the entire thing and out that way. And then here down the 18th hole. Okay, so where I have done the final kind of polished work on it is here. And I'm going to show you, this is a multi-step process in order to kind of get this effect that I got. Undoubtedly, there are other ways to do this. And I'd love to hear if you know how to do something like this differently than I did. Definitely put it in the comments. So let's go from nothing through kind of the layers of how I did this. This is not a fast process. It took me dozens of hours to even get the creek into this state. Like down here is not quite done yet. Only up here by the first and ninth green, first hole and first tee and ninth green. Okay, so let's go from nothing. And before I totally get started, if you do find some value in this video, if this helps you at all, please drop a like. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And let's get going. So let's not talk about how that water's not correct. We can fix that very easily right now. Come on, give me the water body. Okay, water body, move. And we're just going to pop this up a couple of little things here, and boom, all fixed. Okay, so the first step in this is to dig out where you want this water body to be, and I have done so. That was the first step. As you can see, here's some of it. What I use for this is I go to landscaping tools, raise, lower. I go to page 5 of 5. So you can go back 1 or you can go forward 5, whichever. And I choose this brush. Okay, advanced edit. We're going to make it thinner. And we're going to make it a little shorter. And then choose a height. And this works best on a flat plot, by the way. I'm assuming that the area you are working in has had no elevation done to it yet. So you're starting from completely flat and then pick a height. I chose about 3.5 feet and boom. And then kind of start doing this. Let's assume, oh, here's a road. So we're going to go, this is going to be cool. I'll put a little bridge here. No one is going to see it because it's way off the golf course. And then, curve it as necessary. Barely overlap. Overlap a little, but not very much. This does not have to have a lot of precision to it at this point. Okay, so boom, there is what I did. Next step is let's get some water in there. So we're going to go to create water plane. I have not tried this with running water yet. As a matter of fact, let's do that right now. And let's see if this works. And almost. Let's see if I can get it to line up. Of course I can't. So let's just forget about that altogether. I'm going to mess with that because I may yet use that on this golf course. But we're not doing that now. So we're going to create water plane. Okay, advanced edit, make it nice and long. Make sure you click out of advanced edit before you start trying to turn the thing around. Let's make sure we are at the correct height. I don't believe we are. This is difficult. Let's make it a little smaller. Make sure we're at the correct height. Looks like we are now. Now make this nice and long. Overlap it just a little bit with your existing water. And boom. Okay. So you'll notice a couple of things. You'll notice, yeah, we get this water edge here, which you can actually cannot do anything with unless you're using the splines. And that's fine because we have a way to do that. I did not make it the right height. God bless America. Okay. I can fix that. Water body, move. Boom. Fixed. Okay. So the next step in this thing, it's still not perfect, but we're not going to worry about that. The next step is retaining walls. And that's these guys right here. All right. Now, you see I've already put the brick on here, but we're going to start with retaining walls just for here. And then I'm going to move to another part of the course when we start messing with the not retaining walls. So walls and fences, page 2, retaining wall. There we are. And then place, not spline. And now you get to choose. So we're going to choose, I think this kind of, we could choose the large one because it's not too curvy, but the more curvy it is, the smaller the retaining wall you need to use. We're going to go over here, get it nearby, and then press the D-pad down, and it should snap right into position. And then, so we need to curve this a little bit. We'll curve it. Now, in curving it, you see I've made a seam there, so you just kind of move it. This is very, very kind of tedious and very not easy work. You're going to see in a minute when I get to the other side. I'm always snapping it. And this is kind of a straight section. Actually, let me undo the last couple, because when you have a straight section, you can go in and use the larger piece of wall. Kind of get this up here and see. So nice and straight, and you're using, quote unquote, fewer objects in doing this. I'm going to turn that just a little. Okay. Now, when you come over to the other side, and this is where things get to really be a pain in the butt. Let me go back to my smaller one of these. All right, so I'm going to kind of come down here, snap it. Doesn't snap properly. Now we'll do it. Yay, it snaps. But I need to curve it a little bit, right? Oh, no. I have to, that it doesn't go, right? So this part is a little tedious, and you kind of just have to move them into place. And it's a giant pain in the rear end. I am doing this very quickly, just kind of to show how it's done. I would probably take my time a little more. Here's a nice straight section that we can put. Good. Here's another nice straight section, and you can overlap. This is going to be a little rough over here. You've got some earth there. No big deal. This is going to curve a little bit, which means I have to get down in here and put this into place. Perfect. So that's the first step. After you've dug out where you want your creek to be, go ahead, put the water down, and then you're going to put retaining wall. And the reason we do retaining wall, we don't skip straight to the bricks, is because the retaining wall gives you this little blended feature into... Let me move this a little bit, and I'll show you. Okay, see how it kind of gives you... Oops, oh, that was no good. Let's not put it down quite so much. Okay, you can see you kind of get this little blended little bit here, so it doesn't look, boy, that's not so great right there. But anyways, nobody's going to see it because it's not on the course. Okay, so that's that. Now, the way I've been doing it is the next step is going to be, I'm going to come here to create surfaces, heavy rough, choose the brush of your choice, and let's put some heavy rough here. This isn't going to make you a perfect thing, but it sure is going to make it better. You're still going to have a little of this, which we are going to fix presently. Next step for me is to fix the earth that you can see in your in the creek. So I like this brush for doing this. Make it as small as you can. We're going to start right here. We're going to pop him down about 3. 2 to 3 is good. And then just spam the A button along here. Not holding it down, but hitting it over and over and over. And boom, you're almost fixed. This process you want to do very slowly because it's going to affect the outside of here as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty good over there. So we'll do some more up here. Same deal. I like to fix this now before I start with the brick. And if there's a little bit left over, it's okay because we're going to put a brick that overlaps into the creek a little bit. Okay, I'm going to save this because this is an actual golf course that I'm working on. So let's do that. And now I'm going to move to another area of the golf course where I don't have brick yet. And that's going to be down here by the 17th green and the 11th hole. So I have put some brick here. All right, so where did I end? I ended here. Okie dokie. So we go back. Walls and fences. Remember which brick you chose. I chose this one. You can choose any one of these you like. I mean, if you want red, knock yourself out. I think that looks terrible, but this one actually looks pretty nice, and I almost used it, but we're going to do this. And then place tool. We're going to use the smallest piece. And then this one, actually, the snapping works pretty good because then all you have to do is move like that. And you're going to use the center line of your retaining wall to guide the curves of the brick wall. So the retaining wall serves a couple of purposes. The first purpose is, boy, that's a lot of P's in that sentence. I don't like the way this looks. I've got a little seam here, so let's move it ever so slightly. The first purpose is it gives you a little border out here that doesn't look too bad. Oop, that looks kind of bad. Again, no one's going to see that. It's on the course, but it's, it is what it is. So I'm using the smallest brick that there is to give, the smaller the piece that you're using. Get right there. There we go. The smaller the piece that you're using, the more gradual the curve you can get. And then I just kind of go along here. And I make sure you could put this all the way in, but look, if you put it all the way in, you're going to get some of the retaining wall showing. Hey, that might be an effect you want. I thought about it. I messed with this for hours before I decided on what I wanted. I want pure brick wall. So that's what I did. Now here's a nice straight section so I can use a bigger piece. I have to move it just a little. And we come along here. Do I have to move this one a little? Yeah. Now I'm starting to curve a little bit, so I got to go back to the smaller one. And, you want to just, this is, again, very tedious. If you want this to look like this, unfortunately, you're going to have to put the work in. I hate doing stuff like this. But hopefully you'll agree the result is absolutely worth it. And you just kind of curve this around. And, every now and then kind of back out, check to see what you're doing, that it looks okay. And it does. Obviously, some terrain work got to be done there. And I usually do one side for, several feet, meters, whatever you want to say. And then I'll go back and do the other side just to make sure, number one, while I still remember where I put the longer pieces, because I want those to kind of be the same on both sides. And number two, just to, make sure that everything is parallel. There are areas where sometimes the snapping doesn't always work. And that's a big pain in the butt when the snapping doesn't perfectly align. Again, you're using the down key on the D-pad. Unfortunately, there are no smaller pieces than this brick, while there are smaller pieces of the retaining wall itself. Oh, shoot. Come on. Sometimes you just kind of got to make it the same height and get it nearby, and there you go. Now, where did I use my... I don't think it was here yet. It might have been about here where I hit this with the longer one. Yeah. Something like that. I may be able to get away with another longer one right here. Again, this is not an area that people are going to see. There's no way from the 11th hole you are going to see this. I mean, in real life, you might hit a ball here. I know I would, but not in game. So let's get back to the smaller one and work around this curve. And now this does eat up a fair amount of object meter. And I did a lot of work on this course, a lot of work on this course before I really, decided that this was what I was going to do. I had to make sure that, I was able to get as many trees and grass and bushes and whatever else that I wanted. I had to make sure I got all that stuff before I could decide to do this, layering of the brick wall. Okay, so that is the next step. We ain't done yet, unfortunately. We'll save again. I'm going to go back up to the front of the golf course where I've already done some of this. And this is going to seem like overkill, and you might not want to do this, but I'm going to put another strip of brick so that from up above, it looks like it's only brick wall and there's no retaining wall in there at all. Oops, there's no first layer of brick here. All right, so let's go over where there is first layer of brick. Nope, I haven't done that yet. And I'm going to be very careful about where I put 2 layers of brick wall. I'm going to put it here by the 12th hole because people are going to see this, and I want it to look good. So we're going to do place. We're going to do small one again. And I'm just going to kind of start. I'm going to have to kind of start from nothing here. I have nothing to snap to. And this is a little tricky with the controller. That looks pretty good. And boom. And I try to offset the grooves in the brick a little bit. I could even use a bigger piece here. But I'm going to kind of go along here and just kind of snap this like so, because this is a straight section. You got to be a little careful because when you hit the snapping button, the D-pad, you are likely to snap to anything that's here. That means retaining wall or existing brick. Oops. Come back. Okay. If there's a little retaining wall sneaking out, so be it. Again, most people playing your golf course are not going to be, running down here to check out how good of a job you did with the curves. See how now that's what I mean about the snapping. You might run into a little trouble there. But you want to try to cover the top of the retaining wall as best you can. If there's a little space between the 2 pieces of brick, that's fine. Because from a distance, it's going to look just fine. And a lot of planting in this game is not about what it is in terms of planting, but more about what it looks like. Because again, most players, when they're playing a golf course, they're not getting down here on ground level and checking to see how your brick wall looks. This still needs a little work here. Okay, I'm not super pleased with these edges. I might redo some of this. Yeah, I hate that very much, so I'm going to take a look at that. This course is in no way really even near finished. Okay, but we're just kind of, this doesn't add a ton of object meter, honestly. It adds some, and it's worth keeping an eye on. But that is basically how I do that. And then you get something like this, which looks like an actual brick wall. To the designers, they, a seasoned designer is going to look at this and pretty much know what I did. They may not see the retaining wall down there, but you need that retaining wall first, or else this transition here, which I could fix up a little bit by our 13th tee, oh, God, that's so bad right here. I got to fix that. Because this is an area people might hit it. Here's the 12th hole. Very long par 3. And this is where you need those smaller pieces of retaining wall to make a little bit more gradual curve. So I help this. So I hope this helps. Easy for me to say. Again, this is when you're wanting to get, a brick retaining wall rather than just the wood retaining walls that you get. If you have another way of doing this or know something else that could be done easier than what I have done, then by all means, throw that in the comments. I appreciate you. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon. Take it easy.